This is a sand dollar, and today we're going to do a painting based on this as a motif for some doodling and mark making on a piece of paper. So let's get started with that. This sand dollar is a big one, isn't it? Quite a large one. I picked this one up from the beach in the Bahamas, actually, on one of the beaches in Lyford Key. I don't know if any of you have been there to the Bahamas. It's worth visiting. It's not very much in the way of vegetation there, but apparently there's some good diving and stuff like that. Anyway, my husband worked there for a while, and I used to go and visit him from time to time with the Ismerlians. Have you heard of the Ismerlians and the empire that they've built there? Atlantis and all that, you know, the hotel there, and oh, what a story. Anyway, to get back to this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this as my model, and I'm going to use this as my paints. This is the Kuretake Art Nouveau set, and I just got a new one actually because I'm afraid that they are going to run out. So I've bought a new one, but this is the old one, and it's exactly the same. And I've also got some brushes here, various different sizes of rounds. This is a Princeton Aqua Elite, which I can recommend. And otherwise, I use my Drawwells. Information about that in the description below. I've got a palette to mix on, mixing plate here. This one from Meeden, but obviously anything will do. I've got my piece of paper here. Sorry about that crash. Put that away over there. This is a piece of Arches watercolor paper, and it's stretched onto a board using the technique which is in one of my videos that we did a little while ago, quite a long time ago actually, a couple of years ago. You can find that if you just search for Diane Antone stretching paper on Google, it'll come up. And that gives you a nice taut, tightly stretched piece of paper which won't buckle when you paint on it. You can also use a block, obviously, of paper, and often I use, for example, this Bockingford block, which you can easily get on Amazon. Meeden do a small one, but I wanted to use Arches paper today just because I stretched this a few weeks ago and I haven't got around to using it. So why not? I thought to myself, why not indeed? So I've divided this piece of paper, which measures approximately 10 by, 13, into a grid of 3 by 4, and all I did was I just took the ruler and I drew the lines. You can see I've marked out the 3-inch squares, and I'm going to paint some irregular shapes like this in each one, and I'm going to use the different colors in here, and we're going to see how it goes. I haven't got any plans other than that, so let's get into it. And I need a big pot of water, which I'll put there, I think, on top of that plate. So it doesn't matter what you start with, but I'll probably begin with a neutral. So let's put the paints like that so you can see. I'll begin with a neutral because this is neutral, but I'm not going to stick with that colour, but I'll start with that colour. And maybe I'll start here, and I'm just going to very roughly draw a shape, and maybe I'll add another colour to the centre of it. Let's put a bit more in there and just let that run, trying not to interfere too much with the natural sort of flow of the paint. Then keeping that colour on my brush, I'm going to add another one of these colours to it. And the reason why I do that is because that way the colours will, harmonise with each other. Okay, so, and I feel I want to put a little bit of that in there. I've been very bold and started right slap bang in the middle, which is, you know, not necessarily a brilliant idea, but whatever. So if you look at this carefully, without sunglasses on and with a bit of imagination, with the eyes of somebody who's trying to be creative, you might be able, I find this very difficult myself, but artists over the years have told me that you can see different colours in there. So I'm going to take that on trust and say, there is a little bit of purple in here. There's a little bit of green. There's a little bit of blue. Maybe all of those colours together make up this sort of neutral beige colour. So let's try and pull out some of those colours and paint what's in there here, divided out. Do you see what I mean? I'm not sure if I'm explaining that very well, but you probably know what I mean. This is nice paper. It should be allowing the paint to blend nicely. It shouldn't buckle. Ooh, that's fairly strong. I think I'll just lift some of that out. It should allow you to lift out. So we'll just lift that out. I don't know where that came from. Okay, next one, let's pick up some of this and put this one up here. I don't want that to be too dark. It's another sandy colour. You can make these as irregular as you like. Then we've got, let's put some of this pinky shade in here. And if you accidentally, like I just did, allow them to touch like that, that doesn't matter. Just make it even more interesting. Question is now, do I want to go for something a little bit on the greenish side? I probably do. So let's do that one there like that. It's up to you to choose. You could do any colours. You know, you could go for completely unsand dollary kind of colours, like the ones that are down here, these turquoises and things. And there's nothing to stop me picking up a bit of that blue and mixing it in with some of my pink, and I'll get a kind of greyish, quite a pretty grey actually, if I put that there. So that's quite nice. And once these are dry, then we're going to come in with some ideas for picking up this beautiful 5-lobed design in the middle with the 5 little tiny dots there, which and then it's got these amazing parallel lines all the way around these lobes, which could be quite interesting from the point of view of mark making and so on. So let's carry on with this. All of these hopefully will be different colours which have emerged from my fairly random mixing of these. And the good thing, as I've said this before, and I'll say it again, the good thing about the Kuretake colours, these all go together. Oh, that's nice. I like that one. That's this one here mixed with that one there. That's nice, isn't it? I like that. Maybe I'll do that again with the pink, for example. Have I got to? I think I've got already too much pink. Let's go for the mauve again. Perhaps I'll mix that with that a little bit. You can just play around. I don't know whether that's a hair out of this brush or whether it's a hair out of my cat. But it's going to have to stay there for the minute. And that one was a bit orangey, wasn't it? How did I make that? Was it this colour? Do you know what? I can't remember what I did. Maybe I did it with that colour. Let's do that. Repeat that orangey a little bit. Okay, so those are now done, and what we'll do is we'll let them dry. Okay, so these are dry now, and this is where basically you get to use your creative imagination as best you can. In my case, it's not particularly good. You can look things up on Pinterest if you want to try and find something to inspire you. We all do that, I know. So yeah, I'm going down to a slightly smaller brush. This is a size 7. The one I had before was a 12. And I'm a fairly literal type of person myself, so I tend to go to the original to see how it, you know, kind of ought to be or could be or was done by nature. And these are interesting sort of shapes, aren't they? They're not pointed like leaves. They're kind of wider at that end than they are at this end. And these 5 dots in the middle here seem somehow important. I'm not sure what they function for, but something to do with the life of the animal that was in there. And then looking at the ones on Pinterest and online in general, there are lots of, it seems as if there must be lots of different types of these things. And this one is just one particular design, presumably. So anyway, I'm going to use it as my starting point, and I'm going to actually first of all go for a much smaller brush for the very first thing, which is going to be the dots. And then for each one, I'm going to pick up more of the same or a similar color. And then I'm going to put 5 dots in the middle to give me a starting point. Okay, that's the way I think I'm going to work. And then take some more of the same paint and then just put in the shapes, the outlines of the, I don't know what they are, the markings. Anyway, so one way of doing it, you could make yourself a template if you wanted to, and do it that way if you wanted to be a bit more mechanical about it. But mine go quite a long way towards the edge of the sand dollar, so I'm going to do some of them like that. And then they do have a kind of line going down the middle, like that. So we'll just put that in very finely. And then probably thing to do is maybe emphasize a little bit by going a little bit darker on one side, perhaps. And so that gives it a little bit of 3-dimensionality. And then I'm going to let that dry and go on to another one. And since I've got the pink on my brush, I'm going to try and do my little dots with the big brush. And then, so maybe this one will make them smaller. And I think the interest of this painting overall is going to be the variety that you come up with in the way that you do these. So as you go along, you'll think, oh, I could do such and such. And then by the time you're finished, you think, oh, I should have done so-and-so. So I'll do another one. Don't ever hesitate about doing another one of the same painting, will you? You don't want to do that. You don't want to hesitate over repeating yourself. I do it often enough. And then you could put some little parallel lines in there if you wanted to, because it has those all the way around. Or you can just leave it simple. And some people do other designs sort of here. And I think it's possible that some of the sand dollars do have more designs out there like that. And then it's quite common to sort of just put lots of dots in. Just to make a pattern. And then the other thing that you can do is with very light wash, go around the outside edge on one side. Don't go all the way around, but just part of the way around. And then that gives it a little bit of shadow underneath, as if it's sitting on the sand sort of thing. And then we can let that one dry. And then we go on to the next one. So I'm going to pick up some beige. And let's put some dots in the middle. This is a very relaxing thing to do. And then we'll come around, do our first one. That's probably a bit too big, but it doesn't matter. This particular one is going to be one with big pattern on it. And just relax into it and let it all happen. And I'm going to drop a little bit more watery paint in the middle there and let that do its thing. See how that one turns out. This is, when you do that, it's kind of pumping, call it pumping paint onto the paper, into the wet area in the painting. Pumping. Right, so then we want a kind of more of a greyish kind of thing going on down here. And I'm going to do this one a bit smaller and a bit narrower. We lost a chicken the other day. I think I mentioned it in one of the videos. We've got 6 hens and 1 cockerel, and came down one day, and well, it was after in the morning, and I counted them. It's like, where's the little orange chicken gone? I couldn't find her anywhere. We looked everywhere. Went outside and looked around in case she'd gone over the fence. Took a good look at Zen to see whether possibly he might have eaten her, but we reckoned that if he'd have eaten her, then there would be feathers lying around, and he's a good dog, really. He wouldn't do a thing like that. So I'm just doing some dotted patterns on this one. Anyway, so we thought, oh, well, maybe she jumped over the fence and disappeared and couldn't find her way back, or got eaten by a fox. Not that we've ever lost any of our chickens to anything other than old age. Anyway, about 5 days later, I came downstairs, went outside to come to the studio. I looked at the chickens, which are just there. I said to Tamsin, isn't that the chicken that disappeared? And she goes, yeah. And lo and behold, there she was. She'd come back. I don't know where she'd been. The only thing we can think of is that maybe she was a bit broody for a while and she'd decided to hide herself in the undergrowth. But ridiculous, very strange. Because we had searched, honest, we had looked very hard for her and couldn't find her anywhere. But it's good outcome. She came back. So these ones I'm going to just do slightly differently. I'm going to have one side of them filled in like that and the other side not. You know how they say variety is the spice of life. That's right, isn't it? It's just a matter of thinking of different variety things to do. Just put a few dots around here. Okay, and then this one is a similar colour. You could use a smaller brush if you want to make your lines a little bit finer. But I kind of thought, well, first of all, I want them to be a bit wonky, so I'm deliberately not trying to do them perfect, because there's no point in that, is there? And it's perfect anyway. So I'm just, and then because I was thinking, oh, well, what we want to do is on top of it, when it's dry, come in with a pen. There's 5 there, a bit irregular. These ones I'm going to do solid. And we could use felt tips, the brush pens, the ones from Poetique. We could use those. I think that might be quite nice, because then we could use coordinating colours. No, I don't like that. Don't like that. That doesn't look like a sand dollar. You have to go with the flow, and if you go against it, you'll see straight away, no, that's not right. That's not sand dollar. That is. Okay, and now we want some violet colour. Let's do this one up here. Yeah, let's make this one quite reasonably dark. Can't remember what I was saying now. Doesn't matter, it's not important. There we are, and let's put some dots here. This one down here is a similar colour, so let's do him next. And I'll pump a little bit more colour in. Here's a technique you can use when you're doing flowers as well. Just pump a bit of colour into the wet paint. Okay, and the next one, this one here, I think we made with this blue. So let's do that blue. 5 dots. And when you've done this, you might say to yourself after you've done this, you might say, oh, I really liked those blue ones. A long way from being natural colour, but I really like that, for example, this one here. I'll do another one and I'll do them all in a similar kind of colour. Rather than having the mixture of the pinks, the yellows and the blues. So you could do that. And this one is a little bit darker, isn't it? So just make that a little bit darker with that blue. There we are. And let's do some lines like that. Okay, now that's only one more to do, so that's a kind of orangey one. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can see they're all different, but they've all got something in common. So what we'll do next is probably let them dry, and then maybe I will rub out the lines, because it always looks better when the lines have been removed. And then we might come back and do a little bit more, this one hasn't got any dots at all, or any lines. We've got, what's that one? All right, and then the yellow, put some dots going this way. And then probably I ought to go around and give all of them a little bit of shadow underneath. If I've given some of them a bit of shadow, then we probably should give all of them a bit of shadow. Not a big lot. just a little bit, and not dark at all, very light. It's not a lot, but it can make quite a big difference to the appearance of the finished thing. It might not. That one I did, but it's a bit faint. That one's orange. It hasn't had anything yet. All right, that's all of them. Okay, so we'll let that dry, and then I'll rub out the pencil marks. Okay, so I have now rubbed out all the pencil marks, and I'm just going to remove the paper from the board. Just going to cut round the outside edges using a craft knife to release it. And then, because what I want to do next doesn't require it to be stuck to the board, and it's easier to move it around if you're going to do another stage of embellishment, for example. So some people have asked how you get it off the board once you've finished painting, and this is how you do it, with a craft knife and a little bit of courage, I suppose. So now what I've done is I've made a photocopy of this painting using just ordinary photocopier because I don't want to start doing embellishments on that until I know whether or not I'm going to like what I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do is pick up some of my Poetique pens, these brush pens here, and this one is neutral grey. Number 4, there are different colours, different levels of neutral grey. This is warm grey, but a grey colour will probably work reasonably well on any background. And then you can try out things that you might want to do without committing yourself to spoiling or ruining or going the wrong way on your painting. So, yeah. I'm going to try out some little parallel lines like that and see what I think of that. And then you can go, you can start doing your doodles and things, whatever you feel you want to do. And you can make lots of photocopies and you can try lots of different ideas if you want. There's definitely a line down the middle here, and there are definitely little parallel lines all the way around, actually. So you could do that if you wanted to. Then you could put a spiral here, which is not actually on the sand dollar, but if nature had thought of it, in fact, maybe nature has thought of it somewhere. Do different things like this. And you just carry on doing whatever you feel you want to do. There are lots of different ideas, lots of different things you could do. Let me see, what else can I think of doing? You could do wavy lines coming down the middle if you wanted to. Like that. You could go round, you can emphasize the little holes in the middle, 5 little holes, you can make them much bigger. You could darken the center of the pattern on the sand dollar, like this. I honestly heartily recommend that you try out your ideas on a photocopy if you possibly can. It's very liberating, because the one thing that is horrible about painting is you're afraid to commit yourself. This way, you can just, relax. It doesn't matter. It's a photocopy. You can come in and go around the shape on the outside as well and make it a stronger version. So like that, leaving your light color as the sort of shadow on the inside of the, I don't know what they call those shapes. There's some name for them, I'm sure. I should look it up. So that looks quite good, doesn't it? And, you could put another circle in the middle there. I think there probably is one. And so on. So after having figured out a few ideas, then you go back to your original painting and you start with the embellishing. And you don't have to use grey. I could swap away from that and I could go for a colour more pronounced. Heron, what's that? That's kind of mauve. So on the one that is mauve, if I said to myself, I wasn't very impressed with that, I'm going to go for some really nice, strong centres on this one, say, for example. And then if you do it and you say to yourself, yeah, but no, I didn't like that, there's nothing lost. But you might say, oh, yeah, I wouldn't have dared to do that on my original painting because I would have thought I was going to spoil it. It's quite nice with some dark contrast, isn't it? Then you could put dots around the outside edge. These brush pens are great, and I didn't know they existed until a couple of years ago, but I think they're wonderful. There we are. And then having done that, of course, then you can get your white pen and you can put, if you can make it work, you can put white dots on top of this nice dark colour. That looks quite good. Then you could put a white line around the outside of your darker colour. So what we've achieved here is by playing, we come up with a design that we quite like. So then you say, okay, yeah, you know what? I can go with that. So you might do exactly the same thing or very similar on 3 or 4 of them. And then you might say, well, actually, I like this one too. So then you do that. So you don't have to come up with 16 ideas or 12 ideas. 4 times 3 is 12. Yeah, you can sort of just say, yeah, right. Now I know what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go from this practice sheet to my actual painting now. So which one shall I start with? I think I might start with this one here because that's the one that I've already done on the photocopy. And I was quite bold with that. I kind of came in with the colour quite dark, heron that is. And you can leave gaps in it if you want. You can make it irregular, or you can make it as regular as you like. I'm sure the people who make Arches paper would have fits and fits if they knew that I was using Arches paper for using markers on. But I don't know. You can have fits. I mean, why not? And we could do a little bit round the the 5 dots in the middle. These are really nice, these markers, because they do keep a very sharp point, which is really good. Very good, in fact. So then we can put, if we want, we can put, if you do that slightly curved, this line, cut a long dotted line, it gives you a little bit of a sense of form, because these things aren't flat, are they? They are shaped. And then I think what I quite liked the idea of doing was to have these spirals. And as I say, you can do them quite fine with the point of this pen. Just hold it very lightly, don't press too hard. So we can do that. And then we could go around the outside edge with dots like I did in my original version. This is not the kind of thing that you want to do in a hurry, is it? You know, this is the kind of thing that you do when you want to spend some time doing something relaxing. Definitely, it's a bit like colouring in. Doesn't require too much in the way of thought once you've taken the plunge. So I'm going to go around the outside edge as well to define the outside. And they're not symmetrical, they're quite irregular actually. And then perhaps I'll take my lightest grey again and emphasise the shadow, just a little bit of shadow underneath. And then just check to see what colour that's going to be. You can dip these in water if they seem a little bit reluctant to give up the colour. And then we could do a little bit of shading on one side. See how that works out. I won't do both sides, just one side. Go away, fly. Okay, so that's that one. And then on top of this, we'll do our dots. This is a nice summery theme, isn't it? We're going to be, I think this video is probably going to be going up in July. I think it'll be, what day is it today? Today is Thursday, so this is for tomorrow, which is Friday, which would be the last day of June. So, or maybe it might be Sunday. And then I'm going to go around the outside of this with the white. I'm going to let that be a broken line. Slightly less than smooth because that's what it wants to do. So we won't go against the grain. And then I think that one's probably, although you could, if you wanted to, you could go over the little dots with little circles just to make them a little bit more receding, you know, just knock them back a little bit, so to speak. And I mean, you can go on and on. You could cover the whole thing with dots if you wanted to, because the original has plenty of dots, you know, tiny ones all around here. You could do that. Give it a bit more texture on one side, perhaps. But that's quite damp, so that's going to dry lighter. So I think I'll leave that one there like that. With the exception of the fact that I wanted to, that one's really pale. I don't know that we're going to use much of that one. Let's try this one instead. Yeah, this might be better. Okay, so that's number one. And now should we do a blue one? I wonder whether, I'm not sure that we can get away with that. It's pretty much a good match for what we've got there, has to be said. What should we do here? How about we just make these lines a little bit darker? And we could do some of these little parallel lines. And then we could go for, not that. What shall I put? Maybe. Thing is, if you go over more than once, you do get a darker colour. So if you want to make it darker, just keep layering. Let's put a wavy line around the outside edge of this one. And then we can put some dots. Let's put a line down the middle of each of these. Sky's the limit here, just up to you and your imagination. And I will take the blue and go around the outside edge, I think. And then maybe we'll make the shadow a little bit darker as well. And put, like I said, a little bit of shadow on one side. Not too much. Okay, and then how about this one here? Let's put some lines down the center. I had a conversation briefly with a member of the channel. She asked the question, what's the difference between mark making and doodling? And I think there is a difference between mark making and doodling. I tend to think of mark making as being much more deliberate, something that people do when they're creating a work of art, a picture, painting, especially in abstract, but not necessarily. And doodling is what you do when you're not thinking. So sometimes when you're doing something like this, what I'm doing at the moment, it's, I personally think I'm doodling on these sand dollars. I'm not mark making. If I was mark making, I would be making much more deliberate marks with intention. And although sometimes it might be inspired by your subconscious, and you might crave a certain colour, for example, and think, oh yes, I have to make a mark there with blue. That's not what you're doing when you're doodling like this, because when you're doodling like this, you're allowing your subconscious really to be in charge. And all the time you try to control it, you're not going to get a good effect. So the whole point of this doodling, you doodle when you're on the phone to somebody, you doodle when you're in a boring meeting, you doodle when you ought to be doing, probably paying attention to something else, but you're not because you're bored. So that's what doodling is. Mark making is when you actually make marks. And I think most people would probably be able to understand what I'm talking about there. And I find that when I'm doing something like this, I start off hesitantly, but as I allow my unconscious, subconscious, inner underbrain, back brain, the back of my head, to start to work, and I stop trying to control what I'm doing quite so much, then the doodling can really kind of take shape. So that's the only trouble with doing something like this, because you're going to find you're not going to be happy with the ones you did first, because you're thinking, oh, I wasn't fully relaxed. If you're doing it for yourself, of course, you can help that process by playing some music, playing some alpha wave generating music, like Mozart, if you like classical music, or any one of those sort of meditative things as well. That helps. I can't do that because we have to put the music on afterwards, and I don't think everybody wants to listen to the music that I want to listen to, so I don't do that. And if I play music in the background, that would be very silly. It would be annoying. So I have to work with the silence, which is of course golden. There's a very high probability that I'm talking complete and utter nonsense at the moment, and that my design is going to be absolutely tremendously horrible, but it doesn't matter. This is the kind of painting that you might do more than once, I think. As you go along, you develop your ideas and you think to yourself, oh yeah, that one worked. That didn't. And when I say worked, I just mean in the sense of I like it or I don't like it. Well, not even that. But the main thing to do is never to think of the purpose for which you're intending this thing to be done. Oh no, this isn't going to be for Auntie Joan. This is just me. This isn't going to be sold for money. We should stop trying to make money out of our art. I give most of it away. I know that we were selling the tutorials from last year at the beginning of this year, but really, I was giving them away because we were asking for $50. By the time we've done the postage and the packing and the time involved and everything else, there's basically we're doing it for free, and that's great because I just would like to think that people have got the paintings and they're going to enjoy them rather than them sitting in a drawer forever. In my studio. Well, we're getting there, getting somewhere. We keep some of them a bit more simple so that we have a little bit more of a mixture. Is that the right colour? That could be quite good for this one, couldn't it? Let's put a line down the middle that's quite strong. Yeah, that's okay. Okie dokie. And then this one up here, we do something similar. So getting a little bit faster here. Going to put a line around the outside edge. Quite a thick one instead of the thin one. And then we'll put a thin one coming up here. Okay, and what's this colour? Orange. Let us go around the outside on this one. Oh, that's nice. It's a nice broken line there because it's a bit dry. They're a bit like mandalas, aren't they? Don't you think? Because they're circular and they have a repeating pattern. A bit like leaves. Something that you could continue on with and, you know, make quite a lot of details. If you wanted. This one I quite like as it is. I don't think I want to really do anything with that one. I'm going to leave that one as it is, more more or less. Just put a little line down the middle a little bit. Strengthen those a bit. It's quite nice. And then maybe that one similar, I think. Just go around the outside edge. We could do little rows of circles, a little bit like starfish. I think I've done something on all of them now, so I reckon that we're going to be able to call that a day soon. I hope you enjoyed that. Give us a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications as you do. And don't forget to leave a comment in the comments below. Go to the website dianeantone.com and discover what we've got there for you on our new website. And I wanted to ask people, if you have any questions, or if you want to know what other people think, ask a question in the comments below, and other people are very welcome to chip in and answer. It doesn't only have to be me. You know, we can have conversations down there. I think that would be good if people started to answer one another and sort of try and build a little bit of a community in the comments. Don't be shy. And yeah, so I think that's just about me for the day. So I'll let you go and have fun. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now, everybody. Bye-bye.